Hello, this is GeoTechland, and today I'll be doing a review of Chasm. Chasm is a game, or one of the rare few games that has native Linux support, and that is the biggest reason why I'm choosing to do a review of this game. So kudos to Bitkid for publishing this game out in Linux. Linux fans always appreciate Linux native games. So this game is a 2D side-scroller, retro style, dungeon crawling platformer, which I've seen quite a few of them, especially a lot of indie developers. Looks like they've chosen to created 2D type of games here, 2D type of platformers. I've actually haven't played too many of these type of games, so just take that into consideration when I do this review, because if you've played a bunch of them, maybe this game may be pretty average compared to the many that are out there. Looks like this game also was started as a Kickstarter, and it's been in development for quite a number of years. And so the story of the game itself is pretty simple. You're what it seems to be like a knight, and you get sent out to investigate the disappearance of the townspeople and miners. And so it's your job to investigate going through these dungeons here. So I'll start with actually the pros of the game itself. First of all, the gameplay, which I always consider the most critical of the game, obviously. The gameplay itself is very, very good. And especially the combat when it comes to fighting enemies, you pretty much have to take a different approach to every enemy. So if you see an enemy for the first time and you kind of don't know its habits, there's a really good chance it'll kill you, or severely weaken you. And if you do finally manage to kind of crack their behavior, then you can take them down like it's a piece of cake. So the reason why that makes the gameplay good is because it kind of forces you to actually, study your enemy. It rewards you for actually knowing your enemy well. So, at first it may start out as kind of difficult, but once you get the hang of the enemy, it's very easy and a piece of cake. So that's always good. One other thing I did want to note is, in comparing a review I read about this game from Gaming on Linux, did mention the game was difficult, but honestly, while playing the game, I thought the difficulty level was perfect and very well polished. Because let's say you enter a new area in a dungeon, you see a new enemy, you can go through a dungeon. If you're pretty deep into it already and you die, you'll start at the nearest save, and some people can view that as difficult, but it's just a matter of how you approach. If you enter a new area, do you buy an extra potion? Or what I would sometimes do is I would go in there when I first spot like a unique enemy. I would try to get to know the enemy first, and let's say it would take up like half my life. I would just go back, save, heal, and then go back and fight the enemy now that I know how to kill it. And that's one approach you can take. Sometimes you can wing it, where you just go all in the dungeon and you'll see a new enemy, but be very careful and cautious and get through the game like that. So I honestly don't think the game was difficult. I think the difficulty level was perfect, actually. And the game itself is, I would consider, very replayable, in the sense that you can go through a dungeon and you may later have to go through it again to either collect just treasures that may help you throughout the game, or treasures that will actually help you advance through the game. Like, you actually have to go back to collect those treasures. And so you kind of, even though you think you may only see and explore or go through an area just once, chances are you're going to have to go through them multiple times. And so it allows you to get familiar with the levels. And one thing I should mention about the levels, it looks like the way they're structured are procedurally generated, so they're unique to pretty much a lot of people playing the games itself. So the other big pro of this game is that the music itself is incredibly beautiful. Each level seems to have their own sort of signature song, and you never really get bored of it. It's just very rich music, and it gives it that feel of lets you know you're playing a fantasy game, and so that makes the experience much better. And for this being a small game from an indie developer, I guess the time, since it took quite a few years for it to finally come out, looks like it was well worth the wait, because it's very polished. Everything seems to be well put together. The one other good thing I like about this game is that you go through multiple levels, or multiple dungeons or stages, you could say, but they're all very well tightly integrated. So you go through certain portals, and the way it was designed, it makes it very easy to go outside the dungeons, save your game, go to the town and shop for magic or for new weapons and armor. I guess the sort of neutrals that I'm going to include here are the graphics, for one. Since it itself is supposed to be a retro style game, it's not a game that needs to have good graphics. So like it clearly wasn't their intention. So and again, graphics are one of the smaller things or the less important things in a game. It gets a pass. It's like the artwork itself, though, it is very beautiful, very well constructed. So I guess it could arguably be considered more of a pro. The story itself, I put it as neutral because it's very rich. They did put a lot of time to the story, but with fantasy games, it tends to be a good versus evil type of game. There's this evil beast lurking within, or deep within, so it's nothing really new. It's kind of just typical what you expect for fantasy, but it is very rich, so I kind of just give it a neutral here. And in terms of cons, the only real con, I think, is the map. The map itself wasn't really helpful because you don't know what to save, what's like a access to like another floor. They have like the certain colors, but you don't really know what they are unless you just played through the game. The funny thing, when I played it, I was almost like 80% through the game, and I just realized and remembered that I can view the map. I actually, when I was exploring these caves or these stages, I didn't use the map for most of the game, and until later I was just like, because I had to go back for certain things, I think. Then I decided to use the map, and that's when I kind of realized, the map could be better. That's the only real con here. And so overall, I would say, my ratings really are out of 5 stars, or arguably out of 4, because generally give only 5 stars to like games that had everything, like almost perfect or almost flawless. And a 4-star, even though a 4-star is not the full 5 stars, that's essentially a great game. And the only thing that would make this a 5-star is if the story was like super unique, and was just like out of this world. I think that would be the only thing that could push it to the next level. Other than that, though, you guys should definitely play this game, especially because they support Linux. And in terms of performance, on my laptop, it performs perfectly fine on an Intel HD 620 GPU, integrated GPU. It ran fine at 1080p, 60 frames per second. So it almost seems like it's not a very demanding game, so it should be perfectly fine on pretty much any system. And other than that, guys, thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, please like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.